Blue Dog Films presents Paid to Dream with Charles Dennis.
It was worth.
What do you people think you're doing here?
Hey, excuse me, madam. Do you have security clearance?
Please unhand my colleague.
Is this some sort of child sex ring? She's been missing for 3 weeks.
Thorndyke's on sabbatical from Stanford.
Sabbatical? You mean Hookie? From Stanford Middle School in Long Beach.
Hookie.
She's 13 years old.
Mom, why do you always have to spoil everything?
We will talk about this when we get home, Thrill.
Thrill?
That's why I divorced her father.
Say goodbye to Mr. Wishport.
You will be hearing from my lawyers.
Hello, it's Charles Dennis with another session of Paid to Dream with, guess who? Teresa Ganzel. She was that livid mother who crashed that security meeting in the clip you saw from Chicanery. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Charles.
You
Good to
really
see you.
are a child of the Midwest. I hadn't realized. Born in Toledo, Ohio, and
Yes.
and then you grew up in Minnesota.
Well, wait a minute.
Oh.
You skipped a bunch of other Midwestern cities.
Oh, tell
So
me.
I started out Ohio, then Illinois, then Iowa, then Wisconsin, then Illinois, then Minnesota, then Illinois, and then finally Hollywood.
Was your father a traveling salesman? What was going on? Why all these moves?
Yeah, he was on the lam. No, he worked for Cadillac. He worked and he was a zone manager, and he would get transferred when he would get promoted. And I don't know if it's still that way nowadays, but back when I was growing up, when I would transfer to different schools in different states, there were always several other kids that were like me, where their dads worked for Ford or General Motors or whatever, and they would get promoted and transferred and all like that. So that was my life, but I adapted to it very well. I learned how to make friends quickly in new schools. It wasn't traumatic or anything. It was fine.
Well, I've coined an expression this morning thanks to you. There were army brats I knew about, but auto brats.
Yes, that's it. Yes, auto brats is definitely like army brats. Definitely the same deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I don't know if that still exists, but in that time frame in the United States, there was definitely auto brats. That's a nice little period piece film. It would be called Auto
Auto
Brats.
brats. I love it.
Yes.
Let's look into that. And the Goodman Theater. But I've
Yes.
so many friends who came and went to. Who was in your class besides you at Goodman?
Well, Scott Ellis, who went on to be a huge Broadway
Oh, yeah.
director. Yeah, right. So Scott Ellis, Charlene Woodard,
Yes.
Woodward, she did so many wonderful things. Those would be our two main stars. Yeah. And me.
And you. Now,
Exactly.
Now, I know that you switched from being a, quote, dramatic actress to the beloved comedienne that you became. So
Yes.
you didn't do a lot of comedy when you were a kid?
No, actually, when you say I switched, there was no switching. I was doing comedy in high school. I was doing comedy at the Goodman. That's just kind of who I am. And, let's put it to you this way. A couple of times in my life, and I mean literally a couple of times, I've done something dramatic. And I'm sorry, but I think I did a wonderful job. But it's just not what my energy is comedic. It's so I've accepted it. I love my comedy, but when I do something dramatic, it can be quite powerful.
Well, I was going to tell you about this afterwards, but I might as well share it now. We're doing a sequel to my movie Barking Mad called Still Barking. And I have written a role specifically for you of a slightly deranged mother.
Nice.
Very, very wealthy woman.
Oh, and wealthy too. Wonderful.
Oh, yes.
Wealthy and deranged. Okay. To tell you the truth, what happened recently, I was really flattered. I did not get the job. That's the end of the story. But I read, I don't know how this fell into my lap, but I got to read to play Jason Segel's mother in a film, and I got on the short list for this part, and it's when I first got the material, I assumed it was a comedy. Thank God I did some homework on my own because I these two fabulous scenes and for the audition, and I was trying to think, how can I make this funny? It's not funny to me, and I was really going. I can't. I maybe if I act drunk, it'll be funny. But then I started to do some homework on this just to see if there's any articles written, and then I see, oh no, this is a psychological thriller, a heavy dramatic
Wow.
thing. The mother character they described on like Hollywood Reporter was going to be this, they described her as tragic. And then I went, oh, thank God, because I would have embarrassed myself at that audition. I was trying to find the punchlines and I couldn't find them. So anyway, so then I saw, okay, so I did a self tape. And it was very, like I said, it was then when I realized it's tragic. Yeah, it was tragic. And cut to the chase that I was so flattered because then I'm auditioning for the director. Jason Segel was reading with me. They spent a half an hour on these two not huge scenes working with me, and they gave me so many compliments. I did not, like I said, I didn't get the job, but I went, okay, there's an example of playing this tragic mother, and I came real close to getting it. And like I said, I mean, in my life, I've had maybe two other dramatic auditions in my life. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like it never happened. And a couple of times in classes or something, I would do something dramatic, and I it's fun for me. It gives me I enjoy it. So if you could do that for me, that would be great, Charles.
Believe me,
That would be
it
great.
just reaffirms I said, you know what? I want to give her something that's totally different. You know,
That's so
she's
great.
she's sort of like Aunt Bertie in the Little Foxes. You know, the one that they're always not
Yes.
to, and it's that kind of role. So there you go.
That's so great. That's so cool. Fingers crossed, man. That sounds great.
Yeah. Well, it's just a question of not a question of anything. It's going to happen. I don't want to get into the mechanics of it with you.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
listen,
deal. Yeah.
I'm very the statewide speech contest that you were in and humorous interpretation. I love the title.
Yes.
What was
okay.
that?
It was so adorable because I have to tell you, when I did humorous interpretation in high school, I was so competitive. I had to win and I would win trophies, and we would do statewide meets, and we would stay at hotels with all different schools competing, and it was. I'm trying to think some of one of one of the pieces I did was from Jules Pfeiffer's The Apple Tree. I played Passionella.
Oh yeah, I saw it twice.
Yes. You saw it twice. I never saw it.
I saw Barbara Harris in the original version.
Wow.
With Alan Alda, and I think Larry Blyden was the devil or whatever that character is, the other man.
Yes.
And then
wow, I can't believe I'm talking to somebody that actually saw it.
Oh. Ba-da-da-dum, bum, 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 ba-da-dum, ba-da-dun, dun, dun. It was a great score. And then a couple of months later, I saw Phyllis Newman.
Wow, yes.
He replaced her, and I'm trying to think who then replaced. It was two very distinct. It's a lovely show. I'm surprised. It's
well, that Warren, my high school English teacher and director of plays for a high school in Minnesota, it was kind of unusual. This teacher had actually been on Broadway in New Faces of 1952, I think, with like Eartha Kitt and all these people. And so
that's
then
with Paul Lynde. That's 54. They made a movie of it.
I don't even know that. I don't even know the fact that they made a movie of it. So I got to watch that movie. I don't know if my teacher is in it. I don't know what he did not go on to obviously become a star or anything. He ended up being a teacher in Minnesota, but he's the one. So he was a better he was he was a, a he was a really great high school director teacher to have. And he's the one that said, you for humorous interpretation, you would be perfect as Passionella. So I remember doing that one. And then I did this other really obscure one. I don't remember the source. I don't remember if I got my material from a play or a movie. Again, the teacher, this director, told me I should do it, and it was about this kid who was chewing bubble gum, and it started to like masticize, and then it turned into like this a huge like monster. It was very over the top humorous, but anyways, yeah, that's so funny that you would bring up my humorous interpretation. I
I never
loved it
saw
so
this
much.
category before. In my mind, humorous interpretation, I thought, okay, they're going to give her like the telephone book. Make it funny. But
Oh,
this was your,
that
you
would
got
be
to
really
choose.
good.
You got to choose your interpretation.
That's good. That's
So,
a better category.
so well, humorous interpretation. Uh, so, and after, did you ever audition for Second City?
No, I'll tell you what happened. Not in Chicago, because when you were at the Goodman Theater, believe it or not, they said you're not allowed to do that. We will not allow, while you're going to school, you cannot audition for Second City or commercials or anything. You need to focus 100% on your training. So I was a good girl and I followed their thing. Then when I moved to Los Angeles, Second City came to Santa Monica for like a minute and a half.
Right.
And I did audition for it and I did get in. So I did get to be in Second City when it was in Santa Monica, but it never took off. It was at the Mayfair Music Hall in Santa Monica, and my group was me and Andy Dick and Mark DiCarlo, Brad Sherwood, Megan Kavanaugh. It was a group of about 10 of us, and they had high hopes, but it fizzled. It didn't work. They brought in people from Second City like Richard Kind and Andrea Martin and Bonnie Hunt to kick it off, and then they had the new group, which was like I said, me and Andy Dick and all those other people, but it closed in like, I don't remember anymore, less than a year or something. So I would have been in the Second City in Los Angeles, but it never really happened.
Yeah, but you got to
Yeah.
be in one of the rarefied sketch performer troupes, the mighty Carson Art Players.
Yes, that was quite the honor. Quite the honor to have your scene partner be Johnny Carson. Absolutely. That was wow. Yeah.
So you first did the Carson show as a guest because you were doing
Oh yeah.
a sitcom with Lynn Redgrave.
Yes. Yeah. And Gene Smart.
Not bad.
Yeah. And it was quite a cast because it was Lynn Redgrave, Gene Smart, Norman Fell, Tim Reed. I mean, this was quite a cast.
Yeah.
Jola Brooks. Yeah, and it only lasted 13 weeks, but it was a Carson production, and I was super flattered because he had Lynn Redgrave on to show a clip from the show and promote it, and the other person he chose was me, and so I came on and showed a clip, and I was so nervous when the Carson production office called me to do the Tonight Show. I literally said no. I said, I'm so flattered. I go, but I'm too scared. I don't want to do it. Blah, blah, blah. And I hung up the phone. I didn't slam it down, but I said, I'm really sorry, but I just can't. I'm too scared. Please tell them I'm sorry. And about 15 seconds later, the phone rang again. I was in my dressing room to do this sitcom. And the phone rang, and it was the same woman from Carson Productions. And she said, Teresa, Johnny Carson is your boss. You're doing a show for Carson Productions. And no one turns down the opportunity to do the Tonight Show. And I took a deep breath and I said, you're absolutely right. I apologize. I would be thrilled to do the Tonight Show. I just sucked it up and thought, you got to get over your stage fright. You got to go out there. You got to talk to Carson. And I did. And he couldn't have been kinder to me because word got back to him. I'm sure that he had one scared guest on, and he was charming and funny and fabulous with me. And my nervous energy with him, it did create funny comedic chemistry. And I don't know, 2 months later or 3 months later, after the show was canceled, I got a call to be a guest again. And I said, I don't have a job. I have nothing to talk about. They said, doesn't matter. Johnny thinks you're funny. He wants you to come on. He had me on for, I would say, I think it was like 6 times just as a guest. I would just talk about who I was dating or my new puppy, or I would just tell silly stories about my life. And it was fun and fabulous. And one time during a taping of the show, I mean, while we were doing it with the audience there during a commercial break, he said to me, would you like to do sketches with me? And I said, are you kidding me? I would love to do that. And so that's how it happened. So I ended up getting to do sketches with him for the last 10 years of The Tonight Show. It was fabulous.
Did you ever have lunch with him? Did you understand?
No.
No, nobody,
No,
right? The red light came on and he was Mr. Charming and Mr. Funny, and then
Yes.
bingo.
Yeah, I never ever. No, I never had a lunch, a cup of coffee with him, anything outside. When I would go to rehearse the sketch with him, we would do it obviously on the same day that we were going to tape it, just a short rehearsal. But I would sit down next to him on stage at his desk as he was like rewriting the sketch and whatnot. And he would chit chat with me, he'd be like, well, so what are you up to now? Oh, I'm working on this, Johnny. Oh, that's great. And he was really sweet and cordial and all like that. But no, it was just a professional, that's the only time I really just talked to him as a person is right when we were rehearsing a sketch. And he's a Midwestern boy.
Yeah.
He's a Midwestern guy. And I think there was something that we really did relate to one another. I really did feel connected to him. Yeah.
Yeah, my godfather is a wonderful actor named Lou Jacoby, and he was on the Dean Martin show for 2 years.
Wow.
And other than the sketches, Dean Martin never spoke to him.
Wow.
But again, this is not uncommon too. He was another guy.
No, that's not. Yeah. Yes, that's exactly. I don't want to. In other words, I always respected Johnny's space. So I would come to the set, and I never felt so bold as to I'm going to go plop down next to Johnny and start chit chatting with him. I always sort of waited until the producer, Fred DeCordova, would say, Teresa, you can join Johnny now. And I would then go sit next to him, and then he would chit chat with me. But it's sort of like I just always respected the space. Yeah.
It's funny. I said, explaining to who Lou Jacoby was, when in fact you were in the same movie as Lou Jacoby.
My favorite year?
Yes.
No. Yeah, I thought, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. 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 Oh my God. Yeah. My favorite year. Yes. I love that movie. Oh my God. Peter O'Toole, I just remember I had hardly done anything when I did My Favorite Year. It was really one of my first things. And I was on the lot and I saw Peter O'Toole come out of his trailer. And it was beautiful. He paused at the top of the stairs of his trailer and he was looking around and his eyes were so blue. I was like, that's a movie star.
Yeah.
That's a movie star. He was just, oh my God, he was breathtaking. He had charisma flying off of him. He was amazing. And then what's he playing in the movie? A movie star. He could not be a movie star. That man's a movie star. If Peter O'Toole had said, I'm going to not be an actor, I'm going to go work in an office, they would have had to have fired him. They would have said, you can't be working in this office. You have to go be a movie star.
Yeah. It's interesting.
It's his curse.
Two of his most famous roles, Lawrence of Arabia and My Favorite Year, he was not the first choice.
No, I didn't know that.
Albert Finney started costumes working on Lawrence of Arabia, and then he said, I don't think so. He said, this could take 2 fucking years. Get O'Toole.
That's a great story.
Oh, that was the first time.
God.
The second time, they wanted him for My Favorite Year. He said, No. You want a skinny. You want a tool.
Wow, that's amazing.
You know, they were in the same year at RADA together, along with Alan Bates and Brian Bedford. It was an amazing class. But
Wow.
the tragedy is that they never did a movie together. They would have been so fabulous. You know, they had
Yeah.
huge
Wow.
respect, contemporaries, both, from up north or from the Midlands, anyhow, Yeah. Crazy business.
I mean, this is, I'm not going to, it sounds like I'm comparing myself to Peter O'Toole, but, I did do a play on again, off again for years called Viagra Falls.
Yes, I was going
And,
to.
and so when I did Viagra Falls, a similar thing happened because a girlfriend of mine was auditioning for Viagra Falls, and she told me right in the middle of her audition, she stopped and she said, this is not my part. I don't want to do this. You know whose part this is? This is Teresa Ganzel's part. This is who should be doing this role. And the man who wrote the play and was also starring in it, he said, I've met her before. I met her in a waiting room at an audition. And he goes, you're right. She is perfect for this. Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, and so then he had me come in and read. And yes, so then so my friend Sarah Ballantyne, Carl Ballantyne's daughter,
Oh, she's on my list.
got me that
She's
part.
on my list to be a guest.
Oh, she would be a delightful
Yeah,
guest.
we love her.
Yes, of course. So yeah.
Was
So
this
that's I
show, was
love
this
that
show
because
ever taped or filmed?
huh?
Was there ever a video made of Viagra
No,
Falls?
there wasn't, and I'm mad that there wasn't. That I can't believe that. No, there is not anything taped of that. But I got to besides Lou Cattell, who wrote it and starred in it. First I did it was a 3-character play. I did it with Harold Gould.
Oh.
Oh, he's so wonderful, and he would have kept doing it. Only he passed away. Literally, he was so wonderful. And then after Harold Gould, I did it with Bernie Capel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was fun because the cast rhymed. They'd always make an announcement, and sit back and enjoy. Lou Cattell, Bernie Capel, and Teresa Ganzel all
They
rhymed.
got all the L's.
They got all the L people.
Well, of course, from Chicago, she's got the L. Listen, going back to my favorite year, what about Joe Bologna?
Okay, so Joe Bologna, first of all, he and Renee, I could not love them more. I I ended up, this is hilarious, I ended up having the same manager as Joe Bologna and Renee Taylor right after my favorite year because I was at this event, long story, and a man started flirting with me. And he asked me on a date. And I said, I would love to. I was very attracted to him. And he said, well, as a matter of fact, he goes, I'd love to take you to a screening. I'm going to be going to a screening on the MGM lot of a film called My Favorite Year. And I said, I'm already going to that screening because I'm in the movie. And then so we ended up dating for like a minute and a half. But I said, he said, I would like to manage you. And I said, yes, that would be great. And he was Joe Bologna and Renee Taylor's manager. And he was a great manager. When I was with Rodney, that's when I was working, man, because he was such a great manager. And then blah, blah, blah. He ended up changing careers and moving to South North Carolina, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so I got to know, I mean, not intimately, but I got to know Joe and Renee because we had the same manager. And Joe, I love them both. And they're just so friggin' talented. Those two, unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Fresno because my darling Dabney was in that, and what a collection, all you people. And it was this, for those who don't remember Fresno, when Dynasty and Dallas and all these epic family rich dramas, somebody came up with Fresno.
Do you know who did?
Who was that?
My brother.
Was it
My
Mark?
brother. Yes.
I wanted to mention this because her brother Mark Ganzel, who is sadly not with us any longer, cast me in the hell was the show with Twiggy and Julie Haggerty?
Oh yes,
Princesses.
princesses.
Princess.
I loved
Yeah,
princesses.
I loved your brother. He was a lovely, lovely guy.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I really, really miss my brother. I, he was my friend beyond being my brother. I loved hanging out with him. I loved socializing with him. Yeah, I miss Mark so much. But yeah, what happened is Mark, he occasionally would do stand up comedy. So one time he got a gig in Fresno, and he said he was driving from LA to Fresno, and he saw us in Fresno. He saw a sign on the road saying Fresno, raisin capital of the world. And he thought, oh, that's hilarious. And then he thought in terms of Dynasty and Dallas, blah, blah, and he went to his dear friend, Barry Kemp, who he'd already worked with in other projects. And he said, Barry, I have this idea for this a mini series of Fresno, a takeoff on those Dynasty Dallas shows. And that's what happened. Yeah. I thought that was such a great miniseries. Bob Mackey did the costumes.
Oh, well, of course, Carol Burnett.
Yes.
She can't go to the bathroom without him. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can't
then
find it anywhere. I was hoping
yeah.
there'd be at least, I'm a Blu-ray freak now, but at least a DVD of it. I don't think it's available.
I don't know. It's too bad. I mean, my brother, he was so easygoing, but he did get a little upset because the network, first of all, they saw the footage as we were shooting, and they were loving it, so they got a little greedy, and they said, okay, I think it was originally supposed to be 5 hours, but they asked them, no, make it a 6-hour miniseries. So my brother and Barry, and they had to pad the script because they said make it 6, and then they said we're going to add a laugh track, and that's when my brother really got upset. He said, please don't add a laugh track. That's not the tone of this show. But they added a laugh track, and it did, because that we weren't playing it on that style. We were playing, even though it was so hilarious, but we were playing it more serious.
Great.
Yeah. So all of those things kind of like made it. It could have been bigger than it was, because my God, with that cast, that was we got Carol Burnett, Gregory Harrison, Terry Garr, Charles Groding, Dabney Coleman. I mean, you go on and on with that. Michael Richards. It was endless. That cast was crazy. My husband, was Bill Paxton. I mean, everybody was great in it. Yeah, that was so neat. And then Bob Mackey. Okay, this is so cool. Bob Mackey, anybody would be thrilled to have Bob Mackey, actually drawing a sketch of you and fitting you in, which he did all, for me. I was so thrilling. And then years later, he did the costumes for Viagra Falls. So I got to work with him twice. It was amazing.
The show is called Paid to Dream. And I think you're living proof, I mean, they pay us to do this stuff.
Yes. That is exactly my feeling about it all. I look at all the, getting to work with Richard Pryor and Jackie Gleason.
My next question, the toy.
Yeah.
What are your memories? What are your memories of that?
Stars. Pardon me?
Your favorite memories of the toy.
Well, oh God, I have a lot of good ones. First of all, I would say Jackie Gleason. He just decided he liked me. I mean, his wife was there, his assistant was there on his side at all times. But he was like, he didn't do this with other people. He called me Clara Bow. He'd go, Clara Bow, come over here. And he would invite me into his trailer, and I would sit there, and he would just tell me stories about his life. I mean, I was deemed the chosen one, and I would be just laughing and fascinated, and he was fascinating on so many levels. You can read about this online. He was really into UFOs. He was studying all about aliens and UFOs. When he died, he gave I don't remember how many, but hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books he donated to a university in Florida. And he met with, I think, Nixon. I can't remember which president met with him to discuss aliens. He was really truthfully into it. Well, that's a whole other fantastic aspect of that man. He was fascinating. He had a servant. I'm calling him a servant. I guess you would call him that, a valet. I don't know. But this man was not offended by it at all. I could tell. But Johnny, look at I calling him Johnny. Johnny loved Jackie
Jackie.
Gleason. Yeah, they're, in fact, that's something you should watch on YouTube. It's brilliant. I only saw it like a couple weeks ago. The one time Jackie Gleason appeared on The Tonight Show, he only did it one time with Johnny. And it was so neat to watch Johnny Carson being in awe of someone. Like you could see that Johnny was so honored to talk to Jackie Gleason. It's really fantastic. But anyways, where was I going with this? What was I talking about before? I talked about
The toys, Jackie, the
toy.
UFOs.
The servant. The servant.
The
That's what I was
servant.
talking about. So he had Jackie Gleason for his servant. He had hand signals. So he'd go like this, and that meant get me a cigarette. He'd go one click and bring me my chair. And the guy, he didn't look like, oh, I'm being treated like a dog. It was like he felt honored to go get the great one a cigarette. Jackie Gleason knew how to live. He knew how to live. He was the great one.
The great the great one, and the chosen one. There you go.
I was the chosen one.
Teresa, I promise you this thing would zip by, and guess what? It's gone.
Oh my goodness gracious.
No,
I can't believe it.
You're gonna have to come back because we need to talk about dear Jan Fisher, who I wanted to talk to you about.
Yes.
Also of blessed memory. Anyhow.
I have a picture right now on my bookcase here.
Get it. Go get it. Go get it.
Okay, I'm going to show you. This is so sweet. I miss her so much.
Yeah.
I miss Jan so much. Okay, come on. Oh, there you go. Boom. I'm right back. Here's a picture of my brother and Jan together.
Oh.
I cherish this. These are two of my favorite people that I'll ever know.
Is it turned to the screen? I don't see it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
Yes. Pull back a little bit so that we can. There you go. Oh.
I got to tell you, these two, they're so talented. And Jan's play on Broadway. Oh
yes.
God.
Begley told me that they're doing a musical of Lost Boys.
It's opening. It's already in previews. It's opening in like a minute and a half.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Well, the name.
Brilliant people.
Janice Fisher, folks. A brilliant, brilliant writer, actress, comedienne, and friend.
Yes.
Okay. This
Thanks.
has been Paid to Dream. If you like it, and you better, click like, subscribe, and I promise you we're going to have Teresa Ganzel back again.
Thank you.